Thank you so much for being here. I know it's very late in Australia compared to here in Portugal. I have to say I watched the film, and of course I was very moved by the story and the way you filmed it, and of course the cinematography of Jaimen, which is beautiful with those drones and everything. It was quite amazing. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into film, and what keeps you going?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, and thank you very much. And yeah, Jaimen's got some stunning cinematography. So I was a kid. When I was a kid, many moons ago, we spent a lot of time living near the ocean. So I grew up spending a lot of my time down the beach surfing, and so I really loved the ocean. And then I just had a love for cameras, even when I was a kid. And then you're talking about in the Stone Age, when you had Super 8 cameras, so it wasn't as accessible as it was now. But so I think ultimately my love for the ocean and then my love for cameras combined. I ended up getting a job as a television cameraman, mainly doing commercials and sort of current affairs shows and like an Indigenous Aboriginal television show. But then I got that knowledge from the television industry, and I knew I always wanted to, and then surfing a lot, but I knew I wanted to eventually get into the ocean. So I literally just bought an underwater camera, and where I was working at the TV station, there was a lot of dolphins, and I thought I would make my first really bad documentary on these dolphins, and it was pretty bad when you look back on it 30 or 40 years ago. But then what that happened is I got to know those animals and I got to know their life cycle. And then I just wrote a film which was pretty much a day in the life of the dolphin, the group that lives there, 100 dolphins, and then our government broadcaster, which is the ABC, saw that, and then they put that in as part of a series, and then that started my career working in wildlife. So, and then I just progressed to learning about cameras and diving more and filming, and then ultimately producing our own films, and still having that passion for the ocean and wildlife. Yeah.
So, what keeps you going? What actually makes you get up in the morning?
Yeah, that's it. So working on films like Jaimen's film and finding those films which I think are very important, and the economics aren't, it's not all about money. It's you do make money, but it's not a lot, I suppose. I don't know if you're an accountant or a stockbroker or something, whatever, a banker. But telling Jaimen's story was very important. That's what keeps you going. So it was a beautiful story about a beautiful person and then beautiful wildlife. And even our next films coming up I think are very important. One is a wildlife film, and it's about dolphins, and it's about a conservation and / environmental issue, which is not very well known. So I believe that is very important to get that story out there, and we're pretty close to getting that one up. And then I do have a friend, and she's an Aboriginal singer-songwriter, Australian Aboriginal, a beautiful lady, and we're going to tell her life story, and her life story is amazing. What she's gone through as an Indigenous person, I think, are very important. One is a wildlife film, and it's about dolphins, and it's about a conservation and / environmental issue, which is not very well known. So I believe that is very important to get that story out there, and we're pretty close to getting that one up. And then I do have a friend, and she's an Aboriginal singer-songwriter, Australian Aboriginal, a beautiful lady, and we're going to tell her life story, and her life story is amazing, what she's gone through as an Indigenous film. So, yeah.
So how did you come together, you and Jaimen, to make this film?
So I think about 25 years ago, and this is when I pretty much did first start shooting underwater. I was working as an underwater camera assistant on quite a big series, and we were diving with the southern right whales down in 7 or 8 hours away from Perth, and it was through the ABC, excuse me, but it was Jaimen's dad's boat that we hired because he was very close, and Jaimen was only a little boy then. He was only about 6 years old. So I drove 7 or 8 hours, met them, and I got on with the family very well. We did the job, and it was very good. Then we came back the next year, so I got to know them. And then I had a bit of a break because, you know, it's 8 hours away. It's a long time ago. Got on with my life. And then we eventually wrote our own film about killer whales and great white sharks, very close. And I thought, well, why don't we hire Jaimen's dad's boat again? Because he did a really good job. And so we did that. And when I went back there 10 years later, you know, I hadn't been in contact with the family. There was no social media in those days. And Jaimen was in a wheelchair. He'd had his accident. And so from that, then Jaimen just started to do his drone stuff, and he just started to get really good numbers and make a name for himself. And I thought I just said we should do a documentary on your life story because it's very interesting what you've done. And then it took about another 6 years, and eventually we got that film up. And so Jaimen and I are very good friends. Yeah.
So the challenges you had in making the film are quite evident during the film because, of course, you understand that Jaimen is in a wheelchair and you need to create the right conditions for him to go into the water again. But are there any other challenges that you kind of encounter during the filmmaking of the film that are not so evident to us watching?
Yes, that's true. So we briefly touched on this before. COVID was one of the biggest challenges, but you know, everyone faces that. But as I was discussing before, we're on the west coast of Australia, so Western Australia is a third the size of Australia. Oh, here, that was my alarm. Sorry about that. But yeah, so COVID threw a big curveball, but because Australia, Western Australia is 2.5 million square kilometres in size, 2.5 million. And there's only 2 million people, so we've got one big border. So they just shut the border off from the rest of Australia. So we got control of COVID pretty quick. It just delayed it a little bit. But what it meant, Jaimen really wanted to dive with sharks, and that's in another state. So what it meant is that we just couldn't go. So halfway through, we just had to think of other ideas and think of how we could get him into the water with an animal that he would be excited about. And also then we had issues with the diving that through our doctors and our insurance that we were sort of wary of, but we had to give Jaimen, is that him? Oh no, we had to give Jaimen the opportunity to prepare himself to dive and get ready and go through that whole process, because you can't just say, listen, just the doctor says no, you have to prepare your body, train, like we all do. So when I'm a commercial diver, so I try and keep as fit as I can every day, every day, I suppose. And then every year I have a medical, and I have to pass that medical. It's no different for Jaimen. So that was the hurdle, was that we had COVID, which stopped us from initially diving with sharks, and then we had our other issues with his lungs that our doctors and insurers sort of said there's major issues. So we just had to scramble and make other plans. We were discussing about tourism in Portugal before. What happened with us is because they shut the border, everybody just travelled within the whole state. So it was very hard to get accommodation. It was very hard. So we were just very lucky that we just were able to go within Western Australia to complete the film. But that worked out well. Okay,
so that our audiences know what we're talking about, who haven't had a sense of what the film is, we're going to show the trailer, and then we'll continue our conversation. Ben, please.
Part of me knew when I was laying on the sand dunes that my life was never going to be the same again. People know me as the drone guy. I love the ocean. It's in my blood, I feel.
Goodness, Jaimen, these images are incredible.
Thank you so much.
He's become the local celebrity.
The doctor said you're never going to walk again. It absolutely affected my mental health. If it weren't for my accident, I'd still be out diving as often as I could. The thing I really want to do would be to dive again, be eye to eye with this giant marine mammal. It's funny, I talk about it all the time, and then in moments like this, it really it all comes flooding back. I've got a goal that I need to achieve.
Hey, Leighton, I was wondering if I could get your help.
Leighton is an underwater cinematographer.
Jaimen told me he would like to film underwater. I don't know if it's going to be possible. His health is the most important thing.
You okay?
Yeah, good.
We've got to make sure that his lungs are going to be okay.
If Jaimen inhales water, he cannot cough that water up, then he could even die.
We have just had a baby, so I am worried.
I have waited 12 years to do this.
It's going to be very difficult for him.
I rang the dive doctor and she said, stop right there, it's not worth it, it's too dangerous.
It seems like bullshit. I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm capable of making these decisions myself.
I'm very nervous.
It's really inspiring to see his ambition.
They don't know the hurdles that I've overcome in my life. Oh, this is awesome.
Oh, the whales are right here.
Everybody's excited for him.
It's so exciting. Nothing's going to stop me from getting back in the water. Are we ready to go? Ginormous creatures. It's quite incredible. It's a dream. These are the moments you live for.
Bit of extra security.
Are you taking the piss?
So, Jaimen, thank you so much for being here. I know it's late there, and yeah, you're probably very busy. Yeah. So I was talking to Leighton about the film and before about his background and what got him into filming. And you are both very connected, much connected with the ocean. So what fascinates you and attracts you to it?
Me, I think I like filming the ocean. Was kind of a love-hate in a way because, you never know what you're going to find, and becomes like a bit of an addiction, I guess. You're always wanting to go search for things. And when you do get to film those unique wildlife scenarios, it's something that draws you back to want to do it again. And it's not something everyone gets to see. But the hard thing is you can't plan anything. So, you're always out looking for something. And it does make it hard, particularly for social media, to get content because it's not always there, But this morning I drove about 40 Ks out and back around the tourist loop and didn't see anything. So it's just a matter of, hoping you do see something some of the time, and it keeps you wanting to do it. But just being outdoors as well, I think, is nice, in the sun, or you can make the most of the good weather by being around the coast. So there's worse places to be hanging out, that's for sure.
So this film is very personal depiction of a period of your life. So how did you feel doing it? And how did you feel when you first got to see it?
It was something that I was very grateful to be a part of, that's for sure. It's cool to have the story told in such a way that I think my son will be able to watch it when he gets older, hopefully enjoy it and see what his mum and dad got up to, and it'll give him a good backstory about my life as well, and then to be able to share it with people and show them that, give them a bit more of an insight into the people's lives that have spinal cord injury, and also just hopefully inspire people that even though you can, be faced with adversity in your life, you can overcome it and you can have good things come after it. And the first few times I watched the documentary was just on my laptop or in the TV in our bedroom with, not really any music or anything like that in the background. So it was hard to get a good gauge on it, and but we liked it for sure. But the first time I saw it in the cinema with all the music and the final cut, we were really stoked, and I remember thinking, oh wow, it is good, because I never thought that Leighton and that wouldn't do a good job of it, but I guess it's a worry, isn't it? And you're sort of always very critical of yourself. So you think like, oh man, is my story actually going to be any good? But I think it did turn out quite well, and they did a great job of it. It's a good mixture of the personal story and then obviously the beautiful wildlife scenery.
Right. And for both of you, this question, how different is it from what you originally envisioned? Because maybe you had this idea of what it would be, and maybe the result is quite different, or is it similar from what you wanted it to be?
Yeah, it's almost now that it's out, you sort of forget of what it was going to be like originally. But I think it was basically, it played out how we expected it to, really. We knew it couldn't just be about my life story. There needed to be a bit of a grand finale to it all. Sorry, my legs are going crazy here.
No worries.
It had to be a grand finale to it all, and that's where we decided to go and do the diving of it, and that turned out better than we could have hoped, really, I think, because we got to see the whale sharks and the humpback whales and even the dolphins and everything, so I think it turned out really well, but and I hope Leighton does as well.
I did tell Nadia about the problems with COVID and the sharks, and we had to find, originally you wanted to dive with the sharks, and then it worked out well with the whales. So I did expand on that a little bit before.
So Jaimen,
yeah,
can you describe that feeling when you first got into the water again? How was it?
Oh, amazing. Yeah. A little bit nerve-wracking, being on the back of the vessel, unsure of how it was all going to go when we first got in the ocean again. But and particularly because we're sort of out in the middle of the ocean and not just going for a swim, but trying to dive with 30 or 40 ton humpback whales that are on the move, and you've got a spotter playing up and they're radioing the boat trying to tell us where to go. So it's all quite action-packed, and then in the water we go. But just surreal, very grateful to be there. And when the salt water hit my lips, I mean, I say it in the movie, but I was just felt at ease again, like I was home, and then really excited about the fact we were trying to film these incredible creatures.
So have you been back in the water a lot since then?
Not completely submerged, unfortunately, like I was in that one. It was more just to the beach these days in the wheelchair with my feet in the water. So would like to go back and do something cool like that again, that's for sure. But down here where we live, I don't know if you know, Esperance is on the south coast of Australia, so the water's a lot cooler than Exmouth. So I really need a good 40 degree day or something like that for me to get back in the ocean again. But we do have very beautiful clear water down here. So maybe summertime I might get back in the ocean. Yeah.
So on a personal level, what did you gain? You both gained from it. What do you think?
What did I gain? Oh, just the experience of being involved in it. I learned how much effort goes into a documentary like this, how it's not as clear cut to be able to get the funding, and how much time goes into the post editing, and how everybody wants to have an opinion in it, into how it should be put together, and the distribution and everything like that. So from a filmmaking point of view, I learned a huge amount, really. And then just from a personal note, I've just been, I don't know if it's so much a learning thing, but just been grateful to be a part of the experience, like when we're in Perth in February, went on a PR tour with it all, and, lots of interviews and going to different openings and everything like that. So it's just been an amazing ride, really, and something that's been really cool to be a part of.
So Leighton, tell us.
Yes. My kid, I'm not sucking up to Jaimen, but it's probably the best job we've done, because it combines. Going to Esperance is actually a very, very beautiful place, and it then combined working with whales, dolphins, and reconnecting with Jaimen and his family. And I was there when the day the little fella was born. So for me, that it was a beautiful experience. Outside of the filmmaking experience as well, and something that you have these experiences in your life that you never forget. and that's what it was for me. And then I'm very proud of the film, and it's been critically very well received. So, Jaimen and I have got other plans. We're working together on other projects as well. So, and working with him was a lot of fun. Actually, it was a lot of fun, and that you can't buy that.
Yeah, we did have a huge amount of fun. Yeah. It was sad when it was over, actually, because it took so long to film, and then all of a sudden, when we wrapped up north in Exmouth, we were like, oh bugger! But there was still more to do after that. But I think we said, oh well, I guess this is it after several filming occasions. But then we might need to do more interviews or something like that. But no, it's been a great experience. And the beauty of it is it's like now it's there forever. You know what I mean? Like we'll always have that. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's really great. And what are the key... Yes. Sorry. No, go ahead.
About this dolphin film that we're working on. We'll get Jaimen to do the actually. We'll tell a bit of his story about his connection with dolphins in that. And so just another opportunity that we can keep working together on a very, very high professional level,
Yeah, that's really great news for us audience. So what are the key messages of the film? What is the main takeaway you want the people in watching it, what do you want them to feel or, because the thing is the film is really touching. At least for me, I felt like really connected to you, Jaimen, because in a way you kind of exposing your life and your difficulties, struggles, but at the same time you're really a very inspiring person, because a lot of us complain for the little things, and there you are doing these amazing things that people would probably say, oh, we can never do that, or and so for someone that goes into a cinema or watches it on a TV, what do you want them to take from the film?
I think a few things, I guess that hopefully I feel like it's a great postcard to Western Australia. So, it shows how magnificent our countryside is here, from Exmouth down to Esperance here and everywhere in between. And then also the wildlife side of things, conservation, and also, keeping our coastline beautiful, like just little things like that, even though they're not direct in there, but, you see so much plastic and everything like that ending up in the water these days. And then you see how beautiful the clear water is here and in Exmouth. And you really want to try and keep it that way, and keep the wildlife wild, particularly, the dolphins and stuff like that. But then on a personal level, really just hopefully, that it's okay to show vulnerability as well, I think, like maybe when I was younger, I'd be embarrassed about crying, telling my story, but now I realize that I did lose a lot at that time. And it's okay to feel sadness about that, but you don't want to dwell on it, and you don't want to let it define who you are. You really need to try and move on for it and let it help shape the person you are. And I think I've been lucky to do that. And yeah, just hopefully show people they can still have a great life despite, bad things happening. And in my case, I've got married, I've got a beautiful boy now. I run a business, do droning. So a lot of goods come my way. And I think it's come my way because I've tried to focus on the good rather than, sit around dwelling on the past anyway. So hopefully people will see that, and people maybe just see, wow, if he's paralyzed from the armpits down doing all this, why don't I get out there and do some cool things? So hopefully that as well.
So you are both passionate about capturing the most beautiful natural settings. And you were saying before, showcasing that part of Australia, but also the conservation part. There's this huge impact of human behavior on the planet, and you probably, in your work, you observe that impact firsthand, because of course the ocean is your playground per se. So what are your fears and concerns about what's happening to the planet, and are you hopeful?
Do you want to go first, Leighton, or do you want me to?
Oh yeah, always hopeful. And I think anecdotally, we've all seen it impacts. Growing up, I was talking about how I got into surfing as a kid. Well, even, we've seen our beaches eroding here. So the sea levels are coming up higher. They're starting to fortify the beaches with sandbags. So you don't have to be a scientist to see that. Like Jaimen said, you don't have to be a scientist to see cigarette butts and rubbish along the beach. And you can be hopeful because they can be changed. Sea level, we can change sea level if we cut our carbon emissions. And just hearing that the English are, wanting to turn electric vehicles by 2030, I think, at least they've set that target. Jaimen knows there's a Rolls Royce who can have an electric vehicle in 2 years, so he'll have an electric Rolls Royce in 2 years. It's always, you can only hope that people watch these types of films, which there are many, and they do get inspired to just do that little bit, to do your little bit. It does. There is hope.
Yeah. My main thing would be, I agree with the global warming side of things, but I'm very naive with all the facts, and I like to try and get more of those before I make comments on too many things. But I am reading David Attenborough's book at the moment, Life on This Planet, and it's like, I've read halfway, but it all gets a bit depressing, to be honest with you. So you stop for a little while because it does seem that like perhaps we are, really tearing apart our home, planet Earth. And you worry about when my son has a kid and, so on and so forth, whether or not what we're going to leave behind for them. Esperance is like very untouched waters around here. And after a really big storm we had 2 weeks ago, Jess and I drove along a 25-kilometre beach out to Lucky Bay. And I was actually just blown away by how much plastic was on there. It's the most I've ever seen in my whole life on that beach. Just, we stopped and then we were like, we're never going to get anywhere if we stop. You know what I mean? This needs to take the whole town to come out here. But it was obviously ocean plastic from the deep ocean that had come from overseas because it had different languages on it and stuff like that. But you think if that's what's just come from one storm, how much is out there? You know what I mean? So I don't know. That would be one of my concerns, and that's something that's come up recently. And you just don't know how you're going to combat that, because even though in Western countries and ones where we're lucky to have good rubbish disposal and everything like that, in some countries they just take their rubbish to the river and tip it in, don't they? And then it all gets washed into the same ocean. So I don't really know where the way forward from there is, but there's always hope, absolutely. You know what I mean? If some of the wealthier countries can help out those countries with better recycling plants and everything. But even the younger generation and stuff, sometimes you go to the beach and they leave their Macca's rubbish near the water's edge and things like that. So, they're the concerns, but obviously there's so much positive to think about too as well. The nature that we have around us is very beautiful. And you see these, massive pods of dolphins, happy and free in the wildlife, surfing the waves. So that's the pretty side of it.
So Leighton has talked a little bit about his future projects, even with you, but could you tell us a little bit about that also? What are you going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, in the closest future, Leighton's making a dolphin film, which I'll help do some filming for, which will be really exciting. And we'll go to some different parts of WA, to Bunbury in particular, which is about 800 kilometres away from where I am. And then also a film about Western Australia, which will take us more into the outback, which is really exciting as well for me. I haven't spent a lot of time out there, particularly nothing droning, so that'd be awesome. You see some of the amazing cloud formations roll in and storms and everything like that. And also to learn more about the, Aboriginal culture around the area will be really great. And then from a selfish point of view, going back to a film that I would like to be involved in would be one that we are looking at called Islands of Western Australia, where we would go to some of the magnificent islands off of Western Australia. To give you an idea, our archipelago off of Esperance has 105 named islands and over 1,200 obstacles to shipping, so a very dense archipelago. It was home to Australia's only recorded pirate, Blackjack Anderson, and it has that beautiful pink lake down here. And so that's just our archipelago, and that's dotted all the way along the coast up north. So you wouldn't go to every one, obviously, but just go to some really unique areas, filming the wildlife, telling a bit of the history, and then hopefully inspiring people also to get out there and see it. And I think when people watch these things on TV, it inspires them to be better, inhabitants of Earth. They don't want to litter as much. They want to try and look after these, because it's not just here, is it? We're sharing it with, all these animals out there. And if you look at, what is it, like 70% of the Earth's surface is water, or a bit more than that, I think. But by the time you take in the depth of the ocean, I think it makes up like 92% of the inhabitable land mass. So there's just so much ocean out there, animals that we don't know a lot about. So we really have to take all that into consideration with how we try and treat the place that we live.
Yeah, I think you make a great team. We're quite anxious to see what comes next. I think the film is beautifully made. Like I had the chance to say to Leighton before, your cinematography is absolutely stunning, and those drone images are incredible. And when you watch those images, you kind of get hopeful, because you see all those wild animals. And also the underwater shots are really, really great, because you see these coral and fish, and it's really hopeful, because we see a lot of documentaries about the damage we are doing to the planet. And when we see this film, we can see there are still places where things are really great and beautiful, and people are taking care of it, and or at least we hope they are. So I would like to thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's really late, so I won't take much of your time.
No, you're right. Sorry,
no problem.
I was late, but Leighton is definitely to blame for that. He told me 10 p.m. So
no, he's not.
That's right. I'm in bed. I was sitting around waiting, like watching TV, and then I thought I'll check my phone, and I had the text from Leighton, and I was like, oh no. So I am in bed, so I do apologize about that. But
no worries. Actually, we're having what I think was a very interesting conversation, like doing the intro and everything, and it was talking about a lot of stuff before you joined us. I asked maybe a couple of questions before you joined us, so no problem whatsoever. I think I'm always thankful that you get the time to talk to us, and of course, this is one of the greatest experiences for me, and also for the people who are working on this project, is the people that we meet. I think that you also have that experience when you work with other people, and so that to me, the takeaway from me, besides of course all the messages from the films and the great work that's being done, is the people. And so thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks. Yeah.
Nadia, that big wave surfing break in Portugal called Nazaré.
Nazaré.
It's only 30 k's away from where Nadia is. She's going to get a surfboard out there. Have you seen it? It's like a 60-foot wave.
You have to. If you ever need someone to come over there and make a doco, Leighton and I'd love to see that in real life. That'd be really cool.
Well, that's we call it the cannon, because it's unbelievable. That's the size of a wave. But as I was saying to Leighton, I'm not a surfer. I barely can swim, so that's not for me. But those brave surfers, they're really courageous, because some of them have been injured even, because that's really challenging. But of course, whenever you want to come to Portugal, and we'll kind of try and accommodate you, we will love to have you.
Yeah. Well, one of my carers is she's from Portugal. Her mum and dad still live there, and I was telling her today, chatting to you guys, so that was kind of cool. I did ask for some words, but I have forgotten them already. I'm very sorry. I should have written them down.
You'll train before you come, or you will train it here.
Yeah, I will practice. Yes.
You'll practice it here. But, well, it's a very small country. You can travel it within, I think, a day. Maybe no, it's like it's really, really small. So you can travel in a week, and you can see the whole country, except the islands, of course. But but it's a beautiful, very small country with welcoming people.
Yeah, obrigado is that's hello, or is that a greeting, or obrigado?
Obrigado is thank you.
Thank you. Oh, well, obrigado.
Obrigado, yeah.
And we have this really cool expression, which is I'm going to share with you. I think there's no other language that has a word for I miss you. We have a word, a specific word, which is called saudade.
Saudade.
Yes, it's a feeling of missing someone. It's a very
language. I'm going to try and remember that.
Yeah, but it's a very, like we said, it's a very difficult language.
I find people that can have 2 languages in their brain. I don't quite understand how that's possible, to be honest with you. I've tried. Maybe I've left it too late, but
no, I think that's
enough. But yeah,
actually, I think that's kind of a genetic thing. For me, it's kind of easy. It has been for all my life. I was born in Germany, so I talked German and Portuguese at the same time. And so I think that's kind of the brain works in a certain way.
Yeah. So you know 3 languages.
Well, my German's kind of rusty or very rusty, but also some French and Italian and Spanish. And yeah. Well, but no, it's not excellent. Like I can have a conversation like that lasts for hours with a lot of difficult words, but I can get by. When I go to a country, I can ask for a drink or no.
That's the main thing.
No, but we learn languages in school here, so it's. But then we have this. I think it's kind of like I said, genetic. My mother's part of the family have this. They love languages, and it's easy for me also. So I thank you so much.
Europe is so close. Yeah.
Yeah. For us, yes, because Spain is right next door. For us. And it's really small. It's not like you have a huge country. For us, it's really.
I think even within our state, we've got 70 different Aboriginal language groups, which
right.
Don't know much about that, but no worries. We go on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll have news soon when we have the award ceremony, which will be on the 10th. And then we'll contact you with, if we hope, good news.
Sounds good. Where do we send our bribes to? No.
Oh, well, we need bribes on this side. Joking. Like I was talking to Leighton and we said, oh, money is tight on this side doing festivals and stuff like that. It's our first edition. And it's kind of work in progress on that regard. But money is difficult everywhere, I guess. When it comes to culture and good deeds. That's so it's a struggle, but I love doing it. I've been love doing it. I'm kind of, my brain is fried at the moment. I'm really, really tired, but I'm loving it. Yeah. So sorry, Leighton, you were saying something?
We appreciate being involved.
Yeah.
No, massively. Thank you very much. Yeah.
No, thank you, because I most of all, the content, it was what was most important to me, was that we get amazing films that kind of represented the philosophy of the festival, that had a really good message. And I think your film kind of beautifully does that. So thank you so much.
How did you find out about it, out of curiosity?
Research. You know that old thing, the internet?
Yeah. Oh, you guys have that too?
Yes, it has reached Portugal. Yeah, we kind of like in the beginning, but I don't know exactly, but I kind of got a list of films that I actually thought could meet the spirit that we had and what we wanted to convey. And I thought, okay, this is kind of, because that's the thing. There's a very personal story, which is your story, Jaimen, but also those beautiful sceneries that kind of represent that region of your country. And so, of course, it's not a very, if you look at it, it's not about tourism, but what is tourism after all? We think there's a lot of interconnected things going on when we talk about traveling, and also what I wanted to combine here was the experience of a place and the people. And so this is the interconnection between both, and that's what the film does.
Sure.
Okay, so bye-bye. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. See you, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.